முடிச்சோடனே அவங்க டிஸ்ப்ளே பண்ணிடுவாங்க. அதுக்கு
யார் டிஸ்ப்ளே பண்ணுவாங்க?
அங்கே கன்சோலில் நான் பார்த்துக்கிறேன். நீங்கள் அப்புறம் சைட் சேஞ்ச் தான் அதுக்கப்புறம். இப்போ தமிழ் தாய் வாழ்த்து அண்ட் இது.
Good evening and welcome all of you. Thank you so much for being with us for this August evening. So we will start with Tamil Thai Varthu. I request all of you to please rise in your places.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென நிகழ்வனத கண்டமிதில் எக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு இவை முதலும் தைத்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம்பியந்து செய்ய மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I'll just start with an overview of our School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and then we'll get started with the evening. So this is our, I don't tire to say this, youngest, coolest, most happening school at IIT Madras. And that's not just because I am here, but thanks to the students who are here. So IIT Madras has had a culture of starting up. We have had a number of initiatives dedicated to innovation and entrepreneurship. But what we have felt is the weakness is that each of these organizations or initiatives is acting in silos, and coordination is a challenge. So the School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship has been launched broadly with the goal of synchronizing the activities within the I&E sphere. So these are the different organizations within our I&E stack, as our director calls it. So we have CFI and Nirman, CFI and ECell and GDC, which are working among students and popularizing a culture of building and starting up. We have the pre-incubator Nirman. We have the nodal incubator, the incubation cell, and the different sector-specific incubators, and also a range of support organizations. So this is how the school is organized. So it comes under the School of Interdisciplinary Studies. So Professor Anbaras is here, and he'll address us and give us a context of how we are placed within the school. And the school I have been nominated to head the school to start off with. But eventually we will also have somebody with a professional degree in entrepreneurship education to take over in this role. And we envisage that there will be two types of faculty members. There will be a set of core faculty members, and these will be people with either practical experience starting up or they have training in entrepreneurship education. And as associate faculty members of the school, we obviously consider all faculty members who are guiding students in MS Entrepreneurship program to be naturally a set of associate faculty members. And there is an office to support the activities of the school as well. So in terms of outputs, we obviously want to contribute to the institute's mission, which is putting out 100 deep tech impactful startups every year. Although we hit this target in the last financial year, it is not a mean feat to keep achieving this in a regular manner. So that will be one of the primary outcomes of the school, to evangelize, to popularize the notion of deep tech entrepreneurship and a culture of deep tech startups among students, faculty members, as well as research staff. But at the same time, the goal of the school is also to provide an academic footprint to entrepreneurship. So MS in Entrepreneurship is one of the oldest programs on campus. It has been floating around. Now it will be brought formally under the school. and that will be one of the primary activities of the school. Also, there is a set of courses within both the undergraduate as well as the master's level, which will form a minor stream in entrepreneurship. Ultimately though, we also want to launch a doctoral program in entrepreneurship. I just had a chance to visit IIT Bombay, and they have a very fine program, and 5 PhD students have started as well, studying various support mechanisms for entrepreneurship and eventually research as well in these directions. So this is one of the schools which I think is just a continuum, in the sense that CFI has been around for 17 years today, Nirman has been around for 9 years, so ECEL and various organizations have been around as well. We're just bringing to various streams together. In this way, it's an integrative vision, and in our mission, we will work together with other organizations as well across the institute. We will build very close links with VCs and corporates. So already we are working with several different stakeholders within our ecosystem, and we have occasion to felicitate many of them today. So I'll close with this slide. So in terms of academic programs, we are looking at minor stream at the bachelor's level, no bachelor's degree as of now, but a master's in entrepreneurship as the flagship program, a PhD program in entrepreneurship, and also entrepreneur in residence. So that is something as an ambitious program we are starting up. In fact, we may have an industry sponsor for the first set of 3 EIRs. EIR is a scheme where we want to enable people who are returning professionals, people who have been in the industry for 4 or 5 years, want to start up. They can come and team up with some of our students here. So I have also Mr. Ramesh from Adyar Anand Bhavan, one of the people who is already doing something like this, ex-CEO, but now sitting out of Nirman and building his startup and also helping other startups. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. And we want to build more such examples. So this is broadly the snapshot of what we want to do. And with those few words, I'll close, and thank you so much for all of you for being here. I now invite Professor Anbarasan to say a few words, placing our work within the context of the School of Interdisciplinary Studies.
A very good evening to one and all present here. I am delighted to be part of this great initiative. An ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship at IIT Madras is the leading efforts not only for our country but also for the world. School of Interdisciplinary Studies formally houses the School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship and facilitates the academic requirements, including courses, programs, and translational research activities. Also supports various functioning aspects of including faculty recruitments, research admissions, and also other administrative supports. I wish a great success to the entire team, and hearty congratulations to Professor Prabhu Rajagopal, who is the founding head of the School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Anbarasan. So I invite Professor Kamakoti to deliver the presidential address.
So friends, very hearty welcome to CFI. It's a golden letter day for IIT Madras. As we progress from 1.2 patents a day to 100 startups a year, a startup every third day. Now it's time that we actually institutionalize the complete innovation and entrepreneurship effort that's happening in the institute. And as Prabhu mentioned, we had this very clear innovation and entrepreneurship stack, starting from the entrepreneurship cell, the CFI, the Nirman, and many incubators, the IIT incubation cell, and of course Gopalakrishnan Deshpande Center. We had a very clear roadmap when we tell the students to take entrepreneurship as a career. It is also our responsibility to tell them, yes, there is a very definite way by which you can really come to a startup level, and we will give you this support. And we need to have that institutional support available. These organizations that I mentioned have been playing a very important role. I am thankful to all who are involved here and who have spent a lot of time and a lot of effort in channelizing the children to come to this and then come up with these very exciting startups. It's not, all of you will appreciate this fact that in a country like India, where unlike the Silicon Valley that normally we see, to get a company completely made in India to reach a level of IPO is not an easy thing. And that has happened. Ether Energy just actually had its own birth from the e-cell here, has now come to that level. And many other organizations, other startups have grown to a next stage. So this is one very important point, and in this context, we felt that this school of entrepreneurship, innovation and entrepreneurship is very important. And as you know, you see on the top the posters, these are all teams, clubs, and each of these clubs have students from multiple departments, so it is highly interdisciplinary in nature. So we thought it's also appropriate to bring this particular vertical under the School of Interdisciplinary Studies, and that way there is now a vertical there. And MS Entrepreneurship has been a program for quite some time. We have already introduced some courses in the second, third and fourth semester in the second year of our BTech program on entrepreneurship, system thinking, system building, etc. Now we will also have a minor, so that students who select entrepreneurship as a career will have a very definite plan for that. The next one is, of course, the PhD program. It's very interesting. So this department will have a MS in entrepreneurship, PhD in entrepreneurship related areas, and a minor in entrepreneurship. Plus, we'll also hold this entire entrepreneurship stack. So this is going to be certainly a unique selling point, a USP of IIT Madras per se, and we would like to set certain processes and certain role models for many institutions within our country and globally to follow. Friends, beyond the startup, once you incubate them, they get some seed grant. What next is also a question which many of the founders of our very young startups have started asking. So in this context, we are working very seriously to get a VC fund for IIT Madras incubator startups, and we'll be looking at a phase 1 of around 200 crores as a phase 1 funding. And we already, when this was announced in the Sangam event, our IIT Madras alumni event, already 30 alumni have contacted me offering 5 crores and one alumni with 40 crores. So this 200 is done, hopefully. So we will be raising this, and that will be phase 1, and depending on how it goes, we will be raising subsequent funds. So there will be a completely separate entity which will be collecting this fund and deploying this fund on behalf of for all the IIT Madras incubated company. So this is also a way by which many of you who want to invest can invest and grow. It's not a donation, but it's an investment in exchange of equity. And as and when these companies go, I'm sure we'll become rich together, right? So this is very, very important. My goal again is that if we go with 100 startups, and all the 103 startups that were put on the slides, they are not some lollipop startups. They are really, really, really strong deep tech startups. Almost each of the startup had one very strong MVP, minimum viable product, and many of them were associated with patents. They are deep core, highly deep core. So I have no doubt that many of them over a period of time will actually become unicorns. So if we go at this rate, by 2032 we'll have 1,000 startups. We have around 450 plus. Now in the next 6 more years we'll add another 600. And once we have 1,000 startups which we have properly nurtured, I'm sure that one IPO every month is not going to be a distant dream. I think we should come to that level. And unless we put such very tight targets, I don't think as an institution we can grow. And if at all India must become a Vikshit Bharat, it should be a product nation, should be a startup nation. it should be a patent nation. And for that, we must be the, IIT Madras must be the role model. So this is the single point interest in which we are trying to drive this. And the role of this school of entrepreneurship is going to be extremely important. And that's the reason why I repeat that today is a really, really important day in the history of IIT Madras. I invite all of you to participate in this big effort, and let us see some very, very good, exciting results that can come, and that will set IIT Madras as a role model for how translational research can happen, fundamental research can be translated into products, and many, many other things that we'll see in this exciting journey. Thank you, friends, and wish you all the best. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. So we now have the formal launch of the logo and the website. So I would like to point out the tough sounding Sanskrit verse there. Uddharet Atmana Atmanam is from the Bhagavad Gita, and the verse says that we have to raise the self by the self, which I think is the spirit of entrepreneurship. Right? Thank you so much, sir. So we now have, we are felicitating all our key partners and stakeholders, and I call upon in groups some of our stakeholders and partners. So starting with the members of our advisory board and guests of honor. The member of advisory board is Ashwin here, and then Professor Ashwin here. Members of our advisory board, Mr. Vishy, Tama, please. Next call upon the deans actually. I think only Professor Ashwin is here. I also saw Professor Raghu. I don't know if he's still in the audience. So, all right. So the next cohort of our ecosystem partners are again actually it was IC, RP and IIT Ma. I don't know if Nishani is there. IC represented by Tama and Jaya. Yeah. And I think Nat conveyed his inability to attend. So. We now call upon representatives of GDC, ECEL, IITM Research Foundation, and also the Co-Curricular Affairs Secretary on stage. Professor Richa, Raghu, yeah. Madhav. Yeah. Also Professor Shankar Krishna Pillai and Balaganeshan sir. Professor Richa, you have to stay back for the photo, group photo. IITM is our key partner in taking all our startups abroad. Professor Shankar Krishna Pillai and Chitranshu Wag is the Co-Curricular Affairs Secretary. Professor Shankar, Mr. Balaganeshan are yeoman supporters. All our fabrication happens thanks to their continuous constant support. I now call representative of PALS, our outreach partners, and anybody from CZC here? Okay. Professor Varun from RUTAG. I call upon the anchor mentors of Nirman, which includes Mr. Partha, Mr. K.K. Raman, Mr. Ganpa, Dr. Srikanth Sundarajan, finally, I call upon members of the VC community who are here. Senthil from NASCOM, Rahul Dev from Algram Labs. Please. So that brings us to the end of the first leg of felicitations. So I also call up on stage the students of the current batch of MS Entrepreneurship. So this is the very first batch of MSE students who've been recruited under the banner of the school, sir. Thanks to Professor Anbarasan in the whole process. Yeah, we'll have a photograph together. Please come on stage. Yeah. Professor Ramakrishnan, all the students together with their faculty advisors as well. Yeah, please. So it's now time for a little panel discussion. So may I call upon stage Dr. Srikant Sundarajan, Mr. Ganpa, Mr. Ganapati Ramachandran. Yes, sir. Arvind from Inbound, and Professor Ashwin, you are the moderator.
Arvind from Inbound Aerospace. So he's here. Oh, Ganpa's. You met Arvind before? He's the student is but he's created a startup. He's raised their personal on he's not part of the staff. He's not part of the staff. Which batch? This batch. 24 was the contract. But the space started with make no sense.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. We're delighted to have a wonderful panel with us. We have Dr. Srikant Sundarajan, also known as Doc, class of 1984. We have Mr. Ganpati Ramachandran, again affectionately known as Ganpa, class of 1972. Not yet, not quite, 77. 77, okay. All right, okay, yeah. And then we have Arvind, who is a recent graduate of last year, and is the founder of Inbound Aerospace. And we're just going to engage them in a little bit of a discussion on entrepreneurship and innovation and bridging the gap between academia and industry and so on. This is a very nice panel because we have Ganpa from the 1970s, Doc is an alumnus from the 1980s, I was here during the 1990s, and post 2000 we have Arvind. So first, before we get into serious stuff, Ganpa and Doc, do you remember what this facility was during your time here on campus? You can give your answer.
No. As far as I was concerned, I thought it was a canteen. Okay? Because there's nothing here, pretty much.
Okay.
It was a kind of a workshop where people could actually go and have some chai. I'm talking about in the 79-80 time frame.
Okay, yeah. Ganpa, your...
See, honestly, many things have changed. One of the most dramatic changes I've noticed was I did my elective in machine design as part of the final year closure. And the room where I finally got my project signed off with Professor Raidu in the machine design lab is their toilet now. So given that significant changes have taken place, I would go with what he said. I think it went by the name of Knick-Knack, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Otherwise, it could just have been any place in the campus, possibly a toilet again.
Okay, this is a bit of a guessing game, clearly. But I mean, of course, things could have changed. I think during my time, we had the Smithy workshop around here. So it was still a maker space. It still is a maker space. So it's nice to be having this conversation. Let me first start. I'll sort of go in order of age. So Ganpa, when you were here in the 70s, can you tell us a little bit of about entrepreneurship on campus and its existence or non-existence?
What was that? It was almost non-existent. And let me annotate it with a real-life scenario which I myself had to go through. We were, as an entity, tied to our hips to the United Nations as a global IT vendor. And the Assistant Secretary General of the UN, I'm going to take 3 minutes with your permission to set the context. And I think that will tell those who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs here from where the journey from where we were to where we have honestly come. I was having my annual review, which is an euphemism for hammering, with the Assistant Secretary General of the UN, an Iranian American, RT. And she was nice at the end of the bashing, and she would offer me lunch with a beer in the UNGA building in New York. It was at that time that the then UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, a Korean, came, and then he joined us. And he said that, why can't you do something which I'm struggling to solve? He said, we have an offer from the Israelis. It's one of the world's largest drone manufacturer, a company called Aeronautics. Many of those who know drones would definitely know, certainly Prabhu should be knowing. So he said, we are unable to get into Africa and we are using it entirely for peaceful purposes. Would you find a solution for us by white labeling it so that you can do the IT back end for us? So we did that. Let me circumvent by saying finally we started working with Aeronautics. Aeronautics is a very unique factory. It's in a runway with a factory attached. And it makes some of the best large, medium, and micro drones in the world. They have about 70% market share. It was then that I realized what we in IIT might have missed out. I was helped by many professors as part of my project to do this aerial camera. I still remember on 17th May 1977, in that hot 45-degree temperature of Chennai, with Professor Raidu sitting in as the guide. And there was one more professor from Fine Techniques or whatever, I forget his name. I know him as a relative of Shivaji Ganeshan. I think it's his daughter who married someone in a grandiose wedding we all know about. And there was two others, forget them, but one of them was Professor Sadiq, who was the external guide, who later on became the Vice Chancellor of the Anna University. He had a flat tire in his rear Vespa, and that takes 3 hours normally. So the Viva from 11:30 got pushed about almost 2. And so without lunch, I was sitting, went through the Viva, came out. At 4 o'clock, I rushed to the ad block to pick up my caution deposit and the hostel deposit, which was a princely sum of about 300 rupees, which was my black money. I was no intention of returning it to my father. The next day, Saturday, I was heading back to Delhi, where my parents were living. It was then that I realized that I had to pick up the prototype. Went back to the lab. The labs were then run by the peons. I don't know how it is now. He had locked and pushed off. Saturday was no better. There ended the thing. When I was sitting in the R&D division of aeronautics, I realized if somebody in the system of IIT had picked that drone, or an aerial camera as we chose to call it then, it might well have been the world's first drone. I don't know. There's no this thing. It was then, and very coincidentally, Ashwin, I picked up a book called The Regional Divide, written by a professor called Anna Lee Saxenian of UC Berkeley. And I was reading it on one of these long-haul flights, that I realized what value academia and industry could have had if only this had been realized. I think kids of this era are lucky to be here, lucky to have guys like you here, lucky to have a very rich alumnus. In fact, I'm told that you almost raised about 200 crores in 200 seconds. I think even IMF can't do that. IIT Madras can do that. So I think
More of a budget than the cricket team, and we went and actually played. Then in my fourth year, or third year actually, the previous batch were actually doing some really cool stuff in terms of...
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's back on.
Yeah, in my third year, I remember the senior batch was applying to the US for scholarships and things like that. And Sundar Narasimhan is a very good friend of mine. He's with Google now. And we used to say, why can't we actually do everything on a form which is electronic? Because previously we had to do this calling all the way to the university. We had to kind of mail all these things in triplicate, and things would get lost. I mean, the US mail system is no better than ours, so all those thoughts were there. But what was not there was an environment like CFI or Nirman. It didn't come together, so it was kind of very haphazard and organic. But the thought process was fantastic, because from my batch of 144 which went to the US, at least 30 of us did startups.
Yeah.
That much I can say. And some of us became VCs.
Excellent. And for those of you who may not have known, actually it was the 80s where IIT Madras's entrepreneurial journey started. Our MS in Entrepreneurship program started in 1983. And Rajan Shrikant, who's an alumnus from 1983, who I don't think is here today, was the very first student in the MS in Entrepreneurship batch. So I think the thinking probably started around that time. But Arvind, fast forwarding, 40 years now, tell us a little bit about when did the entrepreneurial bug bite you? Did you come to IIT Madras thinking of entrepreneurship? Tell us a little bit about it.
First of all, thanks for giving this opportunity to be part of this esteemed panel. Really appreciate that. So I joined in 2014 as a PhD student, as a direct PhD student, not knowing anything about entrepreneurship. And then going through the research, thinking that the academic research is my route that I should be taking. So somewhere around 2016, 2017, I got to experience in first hand that the research that is developed inside our lab, one of the patents that was developed, was not taken up by the large industries. So there was a new engine that was developed by a professor, And when Professor reached out to the big companies, they already invested a lot of money in the current technology, which is obsolete. Although obsolete, since they had invested a lot of money, they were not willing to take up a new technology because they don't want to go back. So that is when actually Professor asked this question and we started thinking like, what is the direct effect how can we actually translate this direct effect of research into startups or into the industry? So the only way that it can be done through startups, which by design is very agile, you can actually leapfrog the new technologies, and that is where I was a student of Professor Satya Chakravarti in the National Center for Combustion Research and Development, and that is how actually I got to see he venturing from this research mindset or academic research output into product mindset. So that is when we got to see early stage of multiple successful startup like Agnikul, Galaxy, ePlane, now Tutor. So this is actually really influenced me in my journey. And I also was volunteering the experiments in the microgravity drop tower experiments. So apart from the PhD work, I was also volunteering in the zero gravity experiments. We faced a challenge, and with this professor's influence actually took me in the direction of startups. So this is what, and I was fortunate actually to be this student. Why? Because, and then I decided to go, since I decided to go into startups, I looked into first is how do I learn more about it? So getting involved in all these ESL events, all the ESL events I would be attending it, interacting with multiple of the speakers, that is learning. And then this is by choice decision that I took after maybe around 2019-10 that I should also move into this, apart from the academic side and moving into product side. And like I said, the alumni, actually I was fortunate to be part of the Nirman program. I got selected in that, and I was also supported part of the KGMG program, the PG Founder in Residence program. I was supported in that financially. So Nirman is a wonderful concept that actually, it should be known. I am like a self-evangelization. And the other support that we have from just after you join Nirman is the GDC program. It's a wonderful, I recommend all the new teams to actually go through it. It is worth it. It is hectic. It is worth the effort that you should actually go through it. Very, very hectic, but it will test your limits and test your endurance. And that's how it started actually. Then and now, fortunately, successfully, we are incubated in the incubation cell. A lot of work to do. It's not that we haven't achieved anything. Very, very early days. A lot of work to do. Thanks.
Thank you. So I think as we've seen in the 70s, there was very little. In the 80s, at least, there was some thinking emerging. And then over a period of time, we put in a bunch of structures. And now when you listen to Arvind's stories, there is the eCell, there is Nirman, there is GDC, there are all of these things here now that have sort of supported growth. And Prabhu's presentation earlier also graphically showed a lot of this. So the ecosystem certainly has come a long way over the last 50 or so years. My next question, I'm going to go in reverse order this time. I'll start with Varun and finish. So, sorry, Arvind. Arvind, you spoke about supports within the system, right? The eCell, Nirman, all of that. But can you talk a little bit about other kinds of supports that you may have received from outside the IIT Madras ecosystem, if any, from industry, things like that? Could be direct, could be indirect. What were the influences outside that helped you take what you were doing to where it is today?
It is more from the branding of the IITM pre-incubated startup that actually helped rather than directly reaching out. So I think if I were to start up on my own without the IITM support, the outside support would have been there. It's more on the visibility side, getting access to vendors, getting access to some of the products, the early prototyping parts of this, just that the vendors and were more approachable because it's an IIT supported startup. Other than that, I think that would be the main thing actually. Like mostly visibility is the main thing that you get on this platform. You are actually put on a platform where like a lot of huge backing is there. The brand value of IIT Madras and the examples with the large number of inspiring startups early on, Aether, Unifor, a lot of guys there, Detect. So all these played a part in that actually. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So Doc, just sort of building on from that, I want you to also take a slightly outsider perspective. And tell us about when we've talked a lot about what makes a company successful, But what are some of the parts that you need to put together to make an ecosystem successful?
I think as Prabhu pointed out earlier and as Kama had pointed out earlier, you already have all the components. The degree of maturity may be a question mark, and that's where folks like us, the outside-in perspective, come in and help, because we are a vital glue. If you look at us, we've actually done startups, we've actually funded startups, we've actually been through at least 50, 60 journeys personally. That is very, very important, because sometimes startups and entrepreneurship can be a very lonely journey. It doesn't matter if he's a Satya student, but that success doesn't come overnight. So we've seen 10-year journeys, 12-year journeys, 14-year journeys. We've seen how capital has to be deployed. So all of that, I think you people are ready to accept now. So I'm really, really thrilled, because this was something that I spoke 3 years ago when I met Prabhu, saying that we have to bring all of this together, then only there'll be some meat. Then we can actually put a fund together, we can actually start to incentivize professors of practice to come in, EIRs to come in and live here, because if you exchange information, informally and formally, that's how the ecosystem grows. But then just having IIT Madras and a brand name is not enough, right? So you actually have to have a small engine. And I think you're starting to put these things together. And I think with Prabhu's leadership and other people who come and join, of course, you are running the fund, Ganpa is here, Rajan is here still. We are all committed. We will make it happen. I think we've seen examples of Stanford, MIT, where I've actually spent time, UIUC, where I did my PhD. There's already a model. I think we can actually build it. Some of it may be slow, as you know, but I think we are there. So you already have a fantastic asset base.
Thank you, Doc. That's very reassuring to hear. Ganpa, just building on that, one of the aspects of this ecosystem that Doc brought out was the support that the alumni have given over the years. And of course, you've been heading the IIT Madras Entrepreneurs Forum, which is the alumni group, for a period of time. We have several other people from the forum, Vishy, bunch of others, KK Raman, and so on. And this group, so can you tell us a little bit about how this group of alumni have helped push the entrepreneurship story forward at IIT Madras?
Okay, let me tell you where we saw a challenge at one point in time. A few years ago, and one of the reasons why I volunteered time, apart from willingly looking at investment opportunities if there's excitement, was I met a kid, not from IIT Madras, but from MIT Chromepet. They have a good ecosystem for startups too. He met me one day and then said, and I had to invest in his startup for some reason, whatever. He came and met me and shared his first balance sheet. And then said, sir, this, and of course he gave me, not knowing that I'm diabetic, he still offered me a box of Sri Krishna Mysore Pa. And he said, sir, I've signed my first balance sheet with my auditor. Sir, but I have a doubt. I said, what? He said, my auditor says I made, last fiscal I made a profit of 25 lakhs. But then I don't have 25 lakhs in my bank, sir. Now, then I realized where these guys were having problems. They may be great technologists, but they know zero about accounting practices and finance, ability to raise money, manage money. And more importantly, when he tried selling, I realized he was telling but not selling. There's a distinct difference between telling and selling. And that's when Vishy and team, they put together this huge framework of mentoring and doing it, giving credibility to the, sorry about it, just recovering with a voice box issue. So this kind of was a layering to the efforts that were happening around IIT. And I think it's what Vishy and team have done there is a much undersold story. They don't like to sell themselves. I would have sold myself a whole lot more than what Vishy would have done. But I think the system still depends on them because I still get mails from many people asking for mentorship. I've crossed the age of mentoring, but I've reached an age where nursing is more important than mentoring for me. But I think we must use this vast alumnus across the globe. And many of them don't even know what that was, this thing called Entrepreneurs Forum existing. I think they need to sell themselves. They need to reinvent themselves, reinvigorate. I think nothing can compensate experience. And some of these guys who come with about 30, 40 years of experience, gone to the world across verticals, I think that kind of a thing you will never have. And as you correctly said, being from IIT alone is not enough. The uniqueness which you offer on the table, because the client always, in my opinion, has options. Quality and price. Both have to convert somewhere. That is when you make a deal. Yep. And I think these guys can still help some of these startups. Many startups fail, in my opinion, not because the technology is wrong, but I think they undersell them or they are not able to sell and go to the clients effectively.
Thanks. Yeah, and I would, this is just my personal opinion, which I keep voicing all the time. A lot of our ecosystem is easy to replicate. I mean, it's not very difficult to replicate a space like this. Anyone can build it out, things like that. But I think the one part that people have found it very difficult to replicate, and which I feel is our secret sauce, is the contribution we've had from our alumni, either through the Entrepreneurs Forum or through other means. Both Doc and Ganpa are examples. We've got Vishy, KK Raman, Raghu, bunch of people, right? I'm not going to name people, but I think that's really the secret sauce that I think the other IITs and others have not been able to mobilize just as well. So I'm cognizant of time, so we'll do one last round of questions, rapid fire. Again, I'll start with Arvind because I'll let Ganpa have the last word. Just a very quick thing on what can we add on to our ecosystem? I know Doc said we've got everything, but we've never got everything, right? There's always more that we can do. Very quickly, in a word, a sentence, a phrase, what can we add on to our ecosystem to make it better than what it is? Arvind.
Bring more research scholars into startups. I've actually seen wonderful research, actually a new patent. He's happy with just writing papers, doesn't want to commercialize it. It's his decision, but we would want to actually create that awareness. Okay. So that is my point.
Yeah, very well said. We don't want to be undergraduate centric. We actually have more postgraduates than undergraduates on campus. Everyone is doing research. So fantastic. Ganpa, I'm going to let you have the last word. So I'm going to have Doc.
Yeah, I would still like to go back. I am completely cut off from the academic process as is existing here. But if we still have these final year projects like what we did happening, I think you need to have a matrix by which, a system by which you evaluate and find, because 80% of them will dump it, get their S grade or whatever and leave. But I think there needs to be some research scholars working on it to find out which are those projects that can be monetized, take it to the market. I think you start respecting failures. Out of that, you will become the world's capital for deep tech, which I think we will, thanks to the system that all you guys have built. The Nirman is a classic example of it. So is the research park. But I think I would invest more money in Nirman than anywhere else, not because Prabhu is a friend of mine, but I think this is where everything begins. Yeah. And I think it shouldn't die here.
Excellent. Yeah. Absolutely. So Doc, you do get to have the last word. Tell us what's missing, and also just keeping with the theme of the session, is there more that we can do with the outside world, corporations, private organizations? What's your take?
I think what's missing is a uniform degree of excitement, because entrepreneurship is a flame that has to be lit. I don't think we've done it uniformly. Okay? And I think that should be the focus, a lot of informal stuff, and we are willing to come in and help in a sustained manner. That's what has made a difference to MIT and Stanford and Berkeley and all that, because that sustained entrepreneurship is there. Unfortunately, our professors can't do that because of the load and because of the structure, but that is where folks like us can fill in. And this school of innovation and entrepreneurship is a perfect platform, because all of us can come, we can be called whatever profs, we can call us whatever, we are here. The second thing is what he said was, get the research scholars out, they have to start thinking products. After I got my PhD, I went to HP Labs. I didn't go and become a prof because I could see some of the work that I was doing was already getting translated. That was more exciting. So we need that, right? And lastly, I think with the minor, with the GDC and all the other mentors, let them come in and make the minors, make entrepreneurship an exciting thing. It's not like an A, B, C, D, S grade kind of a thing. It should be pass or fail, group participation, back and forth, work on practical things, bring practical ideas. Then that excitement will take off.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Doc. I think that's a wonderful way of concluding this, because this is essentially, I guess, now the charter for the school, and hopefully Prabhu and team and others can start slowly delivering on each of these things, and hopefully in a few years this will become even bigger than what it is today. So with that, thank you very much to all three of you for taking the time and
thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone for listening. Prabhu. Thank you, sir.
Get one mentor like your dad and ask him to cut checks.
We'll just have a group photo with the session. So that brings us to the end, but there is still something good towards the end, which is we want to announce the launch of a new initiative. We have a new first student liaison officer of the School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, who is Aditya Raj. Aditya will be our bridge between the school and all the students of IIT Madras. Aditya, I welcome you to give the vote of thanks. Thank you.
So, good evening everyone. So, as the newly elected student liaison officer for the School of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, I, Aditya Raj, am highly honored to be standing here in front of you. So, first of all, I would like to thank Prabhu Rajgopal sir and the entire team of Office of Innovation for having trust in me and for providing the opportunity to serve the school as a student liaison officer. So, as we bring this wonderful event to a close, I'd like to express our gratitude to all those whose efforts and support have made it a grand event. So first of all, we start with our deepest thanks to our director, Professor V. Kamakoti sir, for his inspiring address and officially launching our school. We are also grateful to Professor An Basu, for head of SIDIS, for his welcoming remarks. So the event has been a collective effort, and I would like to thank all the advisory board, deans and HODs for their guidance and support. We also want to thank all our partner organizations, IITM Research Park, IITM Incubation Cell, IITM Alumni Association, along with GDC, Global Research Foundation, PALS and CZC. Your collaboration and constant encouragement has been instrumental in every step of our journey. So with this, I'll also remark thank for our anchor mentors of Nirman and OIE and our entire partner VC community for their continuous support. And a special note of thanks to our expert panelists, Mr. Ganpati Ramachandra, Dr. Srikant Sundarajan and Arvind IB for giving their thoughtful insights. And also I'd like to give a special thank to Professor Aswin Mahalingam for leading the conversation so well. So with all, I would like to take a moment of acknowledgement for the unsung heroes like our Office of Innovation team for managing all the logistic of the events. So your efforts are unnoticed. So to all the attendees, thank you for being here with us today. Your presence and enthusiasm has made the event truly special. We hope you find the discussion and all the interactions rewarding. So with this, before closing, I'd like to request everyone to stand for the national anthem. We'll be closing this ceremony with the national anthem. So, thank you all. National anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
What should I announce? Should I announce?